Right after the first Lieutenant Governor nominated member was sworn in, leaders from both sides came to blows, pushing and shoving each other. Microphones and podiums were thrown around. Some councillors were seen wielding a chair and climbing onto desks as they chanted slogans, reducing a hall decorated for swearing in to a dangal ground. Have a look at this report from the inside of the MCD house.
हंगामा रहा और तमाम जगहों पर तोड़फोड़ की गई। आप ये देख सकते हैं वो पेटियां जो वोटिंग के लिए आई थी उन्हें हटा दिया गया है। अब पहले मेयर चुनाव यहां से होना था लेकिन हम पेटियों को लेकर जा रहा है। ये साथ में आप देखिए कि जो माइक है उसे ये देखिए आप, ये टूटा हुआ है, यहाँ माइक तोड़ दिए गए हैं और साथ में आप ये देखिए कि किस तरीके से जो वायर थी इसकी वो भी तोड़ दी गई है। नीचे अगर आप देखेंगे तो साथ में कुर्सियां और दूसरी चीजें भी तोड़ दी गई हैं। ये कुर्सी देखिए आप, ये आज पार्षदों की शपथ थी लेकिन जो हंगामा हुआ उसके बाद की तस्वीर देखिए, ये टूटी पड़ी हुई है और साथ ही और अगर आप चीजें देखेंगे पेपर जो है वो फाड़ दिए गए हैं और इसके अलावा आगे जब हम लोग चलेंगे तो जो टेबल है वो भी तोड़ दी गई है। ये तस्वीरें हैं सदन के अंदर की। ये देखिए आप, ये देखिए टेबल किस तरीके से टूटी पड़ी है। ये टेबल आप देखिए किस तरीके से टूटी पड़ी है, माइक तोड़ दिए गए हैं और साथ ही कुर्सियों को तोड़ दिया गया है जो आसपास कुर्सी पड़ी हुई थी। सुबह की तस्वीर ये थी कि पूरे सदन को फूलों से सजाया गया था क्योंकि नए पार्षदों को शपथ लेनी थी और साथ ही मेयर का चुनाव होना था। अब की तस्वीर ये है कि सारी जगहों पर सारी चीजें तोड़ दी गई, माइक तोड़ दिए गए, टेबल तोड़ दी गई, कुर्सी तोड़ दी गई और जो मालाएं लगाई गई थी फूलों से जो सजाया गया था उसे तोड़ दिया गया और करीब 2.5 घंटे तक सदन में हंगामा चलता रहा।
The slugfest was triggered as allegations go by the Aam Aadmi Party objecting to the sequence in which the members were being sworn in, arguing that traditionally elected members are called first, not nominated ones, and alleging that the process is unconstitutional. And you could see senior leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party actually egging on the councillors inside. Listen in.
क्यों आपने हंगामा किया, क्यों पोडियम तोड़ने की कोशिश की? मनोनीत पार्षद कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल व्यवस्था से आए हैं और उनका शपथ हो रहा है, उसके बाद बाकी का शपथ है, उसके बाद मेयर का चुनाव है, तो आपको डर क्या है भैया?
उनको डर स्टैंडिंग कमेटी का तो नहीं है।
अब उनका डर तो वही जाने, उनका डर जो अभी दिखा है वो तो ये लग रहा है कि वो मेयर भी हार रहे हैं।
Atishi, what the BJP has also been alleging is that they have the Aam Aadmi Party councillors have brought some sharp glass weapons and they have attacked the BJP.
Absolute lies. You can see the fact that our councillor Praveen Kumar was attacked. His hand is bleeding, his shirt has been torn. Right now, violence is going on inside the house. We are going to the commissioner and going to ask him to stop the house right now until legal constitutional activities begin, till the house can be carried on in a legal and constitutional manner. Till then, the house should be suspended.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And joining Dr. Anand Ranganathan on the debate is Charu Pragya, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Akashdeep Muni, political analyst. And Dr. Akashdeep Muni, why would the order of swearing in be an issue on which mics are broken, tables and chairs are broken, and such utter pandemonium was seen inside the MCD house? Just on the order of oath taking, sabka oath hota hi na?
नहीं नाविका जी, मैं I want to tell the actual there is no one reason. There are other reasons as well of whatever happened today. The foremost reason is the way in which this particular mayor election was going to happen. The appointed councillors were going to take vote when, as per rules, cannot vote in a mayor election. Illegally, unconstitutionally, BJP wanted to let the appointed councillors vote in the floor of the house through the pro tem speaker. Interestingly, there is a second point. through the pro tem speaker, normally throughout the whole world, specifically India, throughout India, in Lok Sabha, in Rajya Sabha, everywhere, pro tem speaker is the senior most leader of the house. In this case, Mr. Mukesh Goel of Aam Aadmi Party. Interestingly, keeping aside LG nominated a person from BJP, the appointed leader councillors, interestingly, should be through the government, but LG, interestingly, keeping aside all the norms.
Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Dr. Anand Ranganathan,
Yes.
does Akashdeep Muni have a point?
Yes, no, he might have a point, but I cannot seem to relocate it. The point I'm trying to make here is twofold. I respect Dr. Saab, but he's gone on a tangent. The debate is the rampant vandalism and hooliganism of AAP as well as BJP members. I'm not talking of Congress members because वो तो है ही नहीं, किसी भी parliament या किसी भी assembly में वो आजकल होते नहीं है. Dr. Muni, will you please shed some light on the MLA, AAP MLA and your respected friend Miss Atishi Marlena, who is saying chappal pheko? The same person 3 years ago was saying आंखें बंद करके गुंडों को select करो. मुझे लगता है आपने वही किया है. You have no words of condemnation for that, doctor. You disappoint me, sir.
Well, chappal pheko was said. I'll allow you to answer that, Akashdeep Muni. But first, we are getting call-ins and viewers are calling us. R.C. Sharma calling in from Panchkulam, Gargi from Delhi and Anil from Delhi. Mr. Anil, good evening. What's your question and to whom?
I have a question for all these people who are creating a ruckus in the assembly. Where is the COVID norms? First of all, no masking, nothing at all. This is just setting an example to a general public that you are not a public servant or something like that.
Well said, Mr. Anil. Ms. Gargi, your question.
My name is Gayatri. Good evening, Navika ji.
Good evening, ma'am.
Happy New Year to you. It is a really shameful act, Navika ji, because we are paying so much of money for the tax, and these people are spoiling all the things in the podium.
Absolutely. We are paying taxpayers' money is wasted today because mics have been broken, tables have been broken, chairs have been broken, the place has been vandalized, and that too by corporators. Good evening, Mr. R.C. Sharma. Thank you for joining us from Panchkula. What's your question?
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. What I would try to say is that we have heard a lot about AAP, that they lie and they do the wrong promises, but whatever they have shown themselves today on the screen is a very, very shameful, and people of the country, they should be fully aware in future while voting that whom to vote and why to vote. Because this type of behavior of these people, that will not take the country forward, and it is very, very dangerous.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Mr. S.K. Kapoor from Ludhiana also calling in. Good evening, Mr. Kapoor. What did you make of what went on in the corporation election today for the mayor?
Good evening, Navika. It was really pathetic and shameful to see the scenes in the MCD house in Delhi. Really frustrating. What the elected representatives, even the MLAs, directing
Akashdeep Muni, maybe you should answer Mr. S.K. Kapoor and the two callers before him that demonstration of this kind of gundaism was on display. Would you want to respond?
I totally agree with Gargi ji. And I totally agree with all the callers who have called here. Breaking down constitutional figures everywhere. This is a fashion in BJP.
Okay.
Tell me,
only the BJP was breaking. Venkatesh calling in from Bengaluru. Do you think the BJP was at fault, or do you think the Aam Aadmi Party was at fault? Where do you stand, Mr. Venkatesh?
I think they sab ek hi thali ke chatte bate hain. In my generation, if you would ask a bunch of youngsters, very few would actually volunteer to become a politician. I have a son who's 24. I had to literally drag him to cast a vote the last time. I said, notai say beta, tu notai kar. When you see such scuffles and such nonsense happening, He says, why should I even waste my time going to the polling booth? You know, that is a sad state of affairs today, and it's really, really very sad. And I wish that these politicians, they would have shown an equal amount of passion, if we can call it that, to tackle the serious problems that Delhi faces, like pollution, etc. वहाँ पे जोश दिखाओ ना, यहाँ क्यों महामारी है? Because there is this mad lust, bloodthirst for power, so that they can, you know, use the money for their own purposes.
Very well said, Charu Pragya. You know, this is exactly why youngsters don't even feel like going and voting, and you know, when they do, they will probably give Nota more votes than any political party. Do you think it's time for introspection? The blame game will go on till the cows come home. But do you think it's time for introspection?
Lawmakers cannot be the lawbreakers, and that is confirmed, Navika. Good evening. But you know, the events of the day started unfolding first thing in the morning, and if you remember, Aam Aadmi Party started out with statements which were discouraging of the election from the first moment this morning. I don't know the reason because of which they were behaving like this, but they seemed extremely unsure that even after winning 134 seats, they are not going to have the mayor. And the reasons could be many, and they need to reflect on that. Their question was, why is BJP standing for mayor elections? Well, it's a constitutional right, and it's our right to stand for an election. Winning or losing will come after that. Also, the way they behaved, and if you look at the CCTV footage, it is very clear that when the second councillor was taking oath, an Aam Aadmi Party councillor came forward, broke the mic. His hand got hurt while breaking that mic, and that is when the ruckus started. Climbing up on tables, tearing up papers, throwing around the mics, breaking them. It's exactly the way they behaved in Rajya Sabha earlier. And it was their party whose MPs created the ruckus there. So this cannot become a modus operandi when you're unhappy. It doesn't matter what your thinking is. This is a constitutional process, and it should have been allowed to go on as such. And what is terrible is that two women councillors were attacked. I did not interrupt you. Navika, please let me finish. And I waited for my turn to speak.
You are breaking all the...
Navika, can I please finish first, and then he can come back in? I can't speak over other people.
Charu Pragya is right. She did not interrupt you. Please extend the same courtesy to her.
Fair enough.
And you know, Navika, just like throwing more light on what I have said, if you talk about which brought shame to politics, to the MCD house, and it is because they are not confident of their councillors voting for their mayor candidate.
Well, we have a viewer calling in. Mr. Vipin Khanna from Delhi is calling in. Mr. Vipin Khanna, what do you make of this? Who's at fault?
Ma'am, actually, I want to by political means, I don't stand with any of the political parties, and I have actually thing to tell everybody in this cold winter. What is basically the stand of every political party for all of the poor people of the country, not Delhi, when they are shivering with so much cold.
People are disappointed that you should be worried about looking after the janata rather than fighting with each other. Anand Ranganathan, last word to you.
Yeah, no, very briefly, with due respect to both my good friends Charuji and Dr. Saab, will they at least agree to one simple question, yes or no? Should the people who have created ruckus in the assembly today and have vandalized the place, should they be terminated? Should their terms be terminated?
Well,
simple yes or no question.
That will mean all of them. That will mean all of them, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Who's going to stand for elections or who's going to vote, we won't know about that. But clearly, because those are the visuals you're seeing. अब किसी के माथे पे नहीं लिखा है कौन किस पार्टी से है, पर सब चिल्ला रहे हैं और सब खड़े हुए हैं टेबल पर, कोई कुर्सी पर, कोई कुछ. And that really is a disgusting sight. And that's what people of India are worried about. Do we actually spend so much money of taxpayers to hold elections, to build institutions, only so that this is what happens inside them instead of the Janta Seva that is so often promised during and before elections? It's a question people are asking. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on the News Hour tonight. Good night, be safe, have a safe weekend.